Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about adjectives and especially about comparative and superlative. This is a very important topic when we're talking about comparisons, and some people have trouble with them, and it's very easy to get confused and mix them. So we're going to check the difference for them. So first of all, what's a comparative adjective, right? Um, we use these adjectives to describe two objects. This is very important. We always have two objects or two groups or two persons, or but you need two. You're never going to have just one when we're talking about comparatives. And you may have more than one, but more often you will see just two. Just this is bigger than that, right? You can say than that and then that and then that, but that sounds kind of weird. So the way we construct this is with a noun or a person or something we're going to talk about, and then the verb, which in this case is going to be the verb be, right? Because you're saying this is blah blah blah, right? So you're using the verb be to help you compare. Remember that a comparative adjective is not enough. You need to have the verb, right? You can say this more expensive than that because you need that connection with the verb be to make the appropriate comparison, right? Because if you don't have a verb, which in this case is going to be the verb be, you can have a sentence. Okay, so then very important, we need to have then, otherwise we're not really comparing. This helps us compare two things. And another noun. So as I mentioned, when you have a comparison, you cannot have just one, you need two of them. You need, in order to compare one thing, you need to uh, put it in a scale with another. Okay, as it mentions, it can be omitted only when it's clear from context. Like you're already talking about Mexico, and you say uh, Japan is more expensive, right? Yeah, because you're already talking about, you have a point of comparison before. But if you haven't said any object or anything to compare with, you always need to have both in the sentence. Okay. So we have good examples here. My house is larger than hers. Okay, so the word large by itself means to be like bigger, to occupy more space. But when we are the letter R in here, it becomes larger and it becomes a comparative. So this is very important to remember that it's different to say large than to say larger. Okay, and then we have this box is smaller than the one I lost. So we have two boxes. I have maybe I have one in my hands and the other one I lost, but I'm comparing them. I'm talking about which one is smaller than the other. So the other one was already small, probably because we're using the word smaller here. But this one, it's even smaller. It has this characteristic of going even beyond what we usually had. Okay, and then we have your dog runs faster than Jim's dog. So we have two dogs. This is probably called Elvis, and this one is probably called Jerry. I don't know. And these two dogs, your dog is faster than Jim's. So easy, right? We have two dogs. If they have a race, your dog is gonna win, not Jimmy's. And then we have the rug flew higher than the roof. Okay, we're comparing an altitude in here, so it's kind of different, but it doesn't mean we cannot compare. Like just the height as a scale for comparing things is not that usual, but you can actually do it. Then we have Jim and Jack are both my friends. Okay, so far we're just talking about two people that are my friends, and then we say, but I like Jack better. Okay, so we don't really need to say again gym because we already mentioned it. So it's common sense, right? And then we have the superlative adjectives, which these are kind of the opposite, but they are very similar, so people get confused about that. But superlative, remember the superlative, so it's they are like the most powerful thing, right? If you're talking about the richest person, you're thinking maybe Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or I don't know who's the richest person right now, but you will think about the guy on top. You don't really need another person as a scale because you're talking about the guy on top. So you can mention that and then just imagine that there are a lot of people in that scale, but we're not even mentioning their names because we are only focusing on the winner, on the one who is on top. Okay? So as it says, describes an object which is at the upper or lower limit. Well, we can actually talk about the lowest limit, but usually you focus on the most important thing instead of the most negative. But you can do it, right? You can do anywhere you want it. So yeah, it's sometimes we don't want to waste time, like saying Jose is taller than Daniel, and Daniel is taller than Alfredo, and things like that. You can say like 20 comparisons by themselves, but sometimes it's just easier to go straight to the one who is on top, right? You just want to know who's the tallest, so you will go for that. So you will say who's the tallest in your classroom, and you may say, oh, that's Manuel, right? So it depends on what you're looking for. If you're focusing on a specific person, or if you're focusing on who is the one with this attribute, who has this attribute in the larger sense. So, okay, and then we usually use this for groups, right? So you can say he is the richest person in Mexico. So even when he's not the richest person that exists in the world, he's the richest in Mexico. So you have a group and you're saying that he's like the richest. So we have more examples like that. My house is the largest one in the neighborhood. So that I can tell, right? I can tell my house is the largest. I don't really need to know any house in the world or the rest of the world, but I know that in my neighborhood my house is the largest, so I can say that. This is the smallest box I have seen. Okay, so maybe there are smaller boxes than that one, but I haven't seen them yet. So far from what I have seen, that's the group. The smallest is this one. And then we have your dog ran the fastest of any dog in the race. So there are probably like 20 dogs or 100 dogs or 3 dogs or maybe 2. A group can be just 2 people, right? But we're focusing on the winner. We're focusing on the one who's the fastest. So we can use that sentence like that. Okay, and finally we have we all threw our rocks at the same time. My rock flew the highest. So once again we have a height and we're comparing it, and that's the one who reached the highest. So we don't really need to say the exact amount or meters or kilometers or whatever, or even compare them because we know that that's the winner. So well, that's it. That's in a nutshell how we use comparatives and superlatives. Later on, we'll check on some exceptions where we are gonna construct them in a different way. But so far, just remember that for comparatives we are the letter R, and for superlatives we add est. That's all you need to know so far. So thank you and have a good day.